Hello everyone, my name is Julie. Thank you so much for watching, and I apologize for any background noise you might hear. My husband is home today, but I still wanted to film this video because so many people have responded positively to my very first video I filmed in this series. I don't know if I can call it a series, but I'm an American that lives in Germany, and so I titled my first video that really got a lot of views, An American in Germany, and so I thought this would be my part 2 of that, because that video I filmed when I lived here for 4 months, and about a month and a half of that I was living in a hotel, and then I got a home, and now I live in a community, which is a lot more fun than living in a hotel. And now I've been here for just about 7 months, 6+ months, and now I've got a whole host of experiences to talk about, as well as I've now gone back home. I went home for Christmas, so it's really funny. I kind of went United States, Germany, and now it gives me a whole new perspective, especially when it comes to celebrating holidays, which I think is really interesting. So I'm going to talk about that in the video. So if you are interested, please keep watching. Also note, this is normally a beauty channel, so this is kind of like a detour that I take just to talk about some of my vacations and trips while I'm here in Germany, and just kind of like the culture shock type of things. So there you go. I know when I filmed that video I got a lot of viewers that are not interested in beauty channels, so you've been forewarned. That's the makeup behind me. Okay, so I do want to talk about Christmas because, full disclosure, I am a Christian. I celebrate Christmas. I live in a community that is very Catholic, and so they really celebrate Christmas. So there's your disclosure. If you don't celebrate, great, you don't have to celebrate Christmas. I am just a person living their life, okay? In Germany. Yeah, there you go. Do what you want to with religion. It's personal. So where I live is very rural in Germany, and I don't say exactly where I live, and that's mainly for security reasons, because I don't know who you are watching me. And so in my small village, there is Catholic churches, and what's really interesting is that Christmas markets, the famous German Christmas markets, are also really popular here, and we live relatively close to large Christmas markets. You know, within 30-45 minute drive, you can get to some really, really big ones. So what I ended up doing this year is every weekend I went to a different Christmas market. And I wanted to just kind of explore, learn, you know, the American think of Germans, they think of the Bavarian region. You know, they think Lederhosen, they think the Hofbrauhaus, they think Oktoberfest. You know, that's what I had heard of, you know. And that's not true for all of Germany. Although some Germany it is true for. You know, in the Bavaria region, it's a very different culture than the northern parts, which I think is fascinating. As you know, from my last video, I'm learning a lot about the history of Germany and the different regions of Germany. And I'm not going to talk about that there, but I am going to say I went to Christmas markets in Bavaria because I wanted to just explore that part of Germany. And you know, Krampus, which I had never heard of before. This is something that, unless apparently you're German by birth, in America, doesn't really exist. You have St. Nicholas, and St. Nicholas, or Santa, is this jolly fellow with like rosy red cheeks, and he's got a big belly, and he likes to laugh and play with kids. Not exactly the same as St. Nicholas that you have here in Germany, who dress up like a Catholic priest. And I do believe it's a cardinal. Don't quote me on that. Let me know down in the description box, or not in the description box below, in the comments below, what exactly Catholic figure he dresses up as. But, you know, he's got a staff that's kind of shaped of a question mark. He wears those tall hats similar to what leaders in the Catholic Church wear. And it's a very religious symbol. And he's got he's got friends called Krampus. Now this is something that I had a lot of fun following different Krampus groups around, and I took so many photos, I participated. So Krampus are from like the Alpine region, from what my understanding. They seem to be from the Alpine region of Germany. and Austria, and I'm assuming like Switzerland and kind of everywhere, maybe northern Italian Alps. They are almost like goat, sheep, devils, and there are also like witches involved with that, which is funny because we're not in like the Harz Mountains region, which are famous for the witches, but whatever. And what they do is they play tricks on children. So like if you're a bad child, instead of getting like a lump of coal like you would in the United States, tradition states is that Krampus will steal you away and whip you with branches. Oh my god. So they have these, if you're German and you're watching this, please understand, I find this totally unusual a way to celebrate Christmas, and I thought it was so much fun. It was like a little Halloween mixed in with Christmas because these people wear these elaborate costumes, and you can tell that they are very expensive. They've got real, sheep's wool on. They have real like wood carved head masks. Some of them look like Yetis. Every village seems to have like a different version of Krampus, which I also found was really interesting. And they will do parades and they will attack the bystanders like myself. So like I got my hat pulled down over my eyes and I got whipped by a branch. And it depends which parade you see to how hard they're gonna hit you. I thought this was great because this is something that I've never experienced in the United States, and it just adds, a fun, sorry, my eyebrow really itches, a fun element to Christmas that the United States doesn't have. It's like almost a comedy, but like they were very nice to children. Like the devil-like creatures were not mean to children, at least in the parades that I saw, like they'd go up to the kids and give them like a high five and things like that. But it was just so entertaining to experience these elaborate costume people, and they'd like roam the streets. They'd like parade, and then all of a sudden they'd be like there. You have to go on a particular day. They weren't there all the time, but it was just so fascinating to see that because in the States there's nothing like that. If you're bad, Santa just leaves a lump of coal. You're not gonna get like beaten. So I just thought that was absolutely brilliant. If you have more information on Krampus, I would love links down below. You guys did such a great job in my last video leaving me links to learn, especially about like the language and the history of Germany. I thought that was fascinating. Please leave me Krampus links because it's just something I never experienced before and I really enjoyed. I'm also going to tell you that Christmas here definitely has a lot more of a religious connotation, meaning that in the Catholic Church and in the Protestant Church, the Christian religions, they believe that Jesus was born on Christmas, or it's the day that Christians celebrate Jesus being born and coming to earth, and Mary and Joseph and baby Jesus and shepherds, wise men, all that jazz. No, there actually is a separate day here in Germany for the wise men, but it's all part of the same story. And what I found really interesting is that in every Christmas market I went to, there was always at least one booth that sold nativity figures. So in the United States, Christmas is very commercial compared to what it seems to be here in Germany. In Germany, they really do focus on the Christian belief behind Christmas. Now, Krampus seems to be a part of that, but I think that's where Saint Nick comes in. I think Saint Nicholas is the religious figure, and then he's got devils to deal with evil children. I don't know, do Krampus also attack evil adults, or are they just assuming all adults are good? Okay, so then they'll always have this Christian figure of Saint Nicholas, and then they'll have, kind of opposed to that, a nativity. And what's really interesting is that in all these Christmas markets, not only do they have a booth that can sell you amazing nativities, some are hand carved, some are commercial, some are plastic, some are wood, a wide variety of nativities, but you can also buy individual pieces. I've never seen that before, where they'll have like 7 or 8 sizes of baby Jesus fit in like 1 to 8 different size. You get like really small ones, and then you get like bigger ones. And you can kind of make up the nativity as you want to, and they have a wide variety of animals you can put in there, and cooking implements, and just things I'd never seen before. So I thought that was really interesting, because in the States, when you go to Christmas markets, unless it's at a church, you're going to have very few Christian related items. A lot of them are going to be shopping for presents. Like that's the main goal of Christmas markets, is shopping for presents that are not always religiously connected. So you could, if you go to an arts and crafts Christmas market, they're going to have some similar items that are Christmas markets, like hand-knitted hats, gloves, scarves. You can get commercially made hats, scarves. You can get like homemade goods and jams, similar in Germany. But they don't always have that booth selling nativity stuff. That's not normally what you see at a Christmas market unless you're at a church in the United States. I hope that makes sense. But I thought that was really interesting because you can definitely see the commercial edge to the United States versus what Germany celebrates. And along with that, with decorations around Christmas, it's really interesting because of course I'm American, right? I've already explained that. I have all these Christmas decorations that I wanted to put up. I've got blow-ups to go on the lawn, which I think are kind of hideous, but like in a cool way. Trees that can go outside, dancing lights, twinkle lights, lights that line the walk. I've got things for my house. I've not only got a tree, well, I use real, but like I usually put a tree with ornaments and lights and ribbons. And you saw my nutcracker in the backside, and I've got, I bought a lot of German stuff. So I bought like the German pyramid, which is really a fascinating thing and really intricate. I love that. The nutcracker obviously is German as well that I put up. And it's just, I have all this stuff that are supposed to go like outside my house and inside my house and completely transform. Germans don't go as, this is going to sound judgmental, but I don't mean it to be, gaudy as Americans do. Meaning that the Americans will put up 1,000 lights, 2,000 lights, 3,000 lights, 10,000 lights on their house. Germans, what I saw, at least in my region, they'll put lights up, but it's more like around the door frame or in each window they'll have something. Something popular I saw this year were these large paper stars that had a light inside, so it lit up. You could see almost like the cutouts behind the paper. So they had these stars kind of glowing in the windows. I saw lights in the windows. I went to a German store and they had this thing called a Schebogen, which looks almost like an arch that goes through your window. I didn't see any German houses having that, but I'm sure that is, if that's like a standard German decoration, I'm sure that's something. But it wasn't as like full out as it is in the States. There were no, did I see an inflatable? I don't think I did. I don't think I saw an inflatable. I mean, every town has a Christmas tree that has lights on it, but it wasn't the same level of tackiness. Like even the wreaths were different. Like in Germany, there seemed to be like, I have a plastic wreath. They had real evergreen wreaths, and they would have like ribbons on them, but they weren't as ornate as they were in the United States. They weren't as like shiny and plastic as they were in the United States. Same with like table decorations. I went to my German. So, I mentioned before, Germans don't really call them friends until they're like family. So my coworker, my associate, I think is what she calls me, is her associate. I went to her house to celebrate a meal, and she had a beautifully decorated centerpiece of almost like a wreath, and then she put ornaments on it. And that was really interesting because my centerpiece for Christmas is like way more elaborate, and hers was so beautiful. It just had like a couple candles and that wreath, and I was like, wow, that is beautiful. That's something that I need to do next time. Maybe I need to tone it down a little bit because I'm making myself stand out, which is, I want to embrace German culture. I don't want to be known as like the American. I want to be known as like the person that's really interested in Germany. That's, I don't want to be an ignorant American or an ignorant person in general. I should just specialize, or I shouldn't just identify myself as American. I'm a person of the world now, learning more and more about the world. And so I thought that was really interesting because Christmas is celebrated so differently. When I went back to the United States, I saw all these decorations again. I was so used to Germany and their style of decorations. I went back to the United States and it was just one of those things. I was just like, oh wow, there's so much in every yard. There's just so much. Like every tree was decorated, every bush was decorated, every front door was decorated. Like one house had 4 blow-ups. in my neighborhood back at home where my parents live, they had like 4 creatures. I think there was like a polar bear and a penguin and Santa Claus and a snow globe. I was like, okay, that's a bit much. But like, it was just amazing the difference behind them. And like, again, in Germany, it was really more of like the Christian sentiment. And I know there's a commercial aspect here in Germany too, because presents are still given, people still shop. Like the department stores are decorated, but it's very, very different from how you see it in the United States. And I thought that that was absolutely fascinating. Okay, I'm going to move off Christmas because we're going to go on to something else that was funny that I saw during Christmas markets. How do I say this? In Europe, you pay to use the bathroom unless you are shopping in a store or you are eating at that restaurant. You pay to use the bathroom. Very different from the United States where like every bathroom is free. So I went to go pick up a family member from the airport and I saw a little boy peeing on a tree. Just outside the airport. That does not happen in the United States unless it's an emergency. And this is what struck me about it. We are literally in front of an airport. If he had walked 100 meters into the building, I'm sure that there would have been a bathroom inside. But he chose to go on the tree instead. And when I mean a little boy, he was probably 6. So he's old enough to know where the bathroom is, and his dad was with him. His dad was helping him like go to the bathroom. Maybe he was 5 because 6 is a little old to be not be going to the bathroom by yourself. But like the kid was old enough to know where to go to the bathroom, and the dad was still like, that tree looks good. Now again, I understand it's a child and there might be an emergency, but that's not the only person I've seen peeing outside here in Germany. I have seen people pee, especially men, but some women as well, like on the Autobahn, as you do pull-offs. Some of them have restrooms, some of them don't, just like in the States. But the ones that don't have the States, they'll just be like a peeing area where everyone just kind of goes to pee. Why not just go down the road? I don't know. Like there's a different idea about urinating in public. Now in towns I don't really see it as much, but in the country, because again I said I live in the rural areas, you'll see people just like pulled off the side of the road peeing. I think that's interesting. Now, when I lived in upstate New York, I do know that people drove like 90, like on 90, Interstate Route 90, and occasionally they would miss a rest stop and have to go to the bathroom. But there are a lot more rest stops in Germany than there are in the United States. Like on 90, at least in the stretch in upstate New York, you get a bathroom like every 30 to 40 minutes. Here it's like every 20 minutes you get a bathroom. So like normally you're able to hold it for 20 minutes if you didn't have to go to the bathroom 20 minutes ago. So I think that's really interesting that like public urination is so much more almost like accepted here in Germany, especially in rural areas. Like when you're hiking and stuff too, like I said, and the last one, walking is really popular, you'll just see people on the side of the trail peeing. I don't know, I think I'd go further away from the trail. I don't know, that's just my, like when I'm on walks and I have to go to the bathroom, I go further off the trail so no one can see me. So that's just another thought of mine. I've got my list here of things. Events. Oh, okay. So this is kind of goes back to Christmas markets too. As you can see, this all kind of was brought up in the last 2 months. The way people do public events or the way communities do public events are very different, which I think is really fascinating. So let me describe to you. I went to my very first beer festival in Germany, like the weekend after I arrived. And of course I was anxious to get a German beer. That's just, that's just like what German or Americans think of Germany, they really think of beer. And so I went to this festival. There was a band playing. Great, I found myself a table to sit at. My husband got to go get my beer, brought it back, and we sat there. And the tables are really close together. Like they'll have a table and then they'll have this narrow bench that you're supposed to sit on. And right behind you is another narrow bench. Like there's not even a meter between the tables. Like two people have to fit in with like 2.5 meters. That's what you get. So don't try and think you got a big butt. I got a big butt and it doesn't really fit on those benches if someone else is too close. So that's interesting that it's benches too, because you rarely see benches unless it's picnic tables in the United States. And so you're kind of crammed in and then you're just like drinking. And then depending on where you sit, sometimes a waitress comes over and sees if you want to, or a waiter sees if you want another beer, if you're empty, and then they'll bring you another one and there's just music playing. But that's it. That's like the end of the festival. Occasionally have a booth or two that like sells food. Well, no, I mean, there's always food vendors, like, but you're gonna have like your bratwurst, your currywurst, some bread. You got like your candy booth that has like chocolates and candies and like those gingerbread hearts that are really popular in Germany. But like they don't have some of the standard festival things like the United States has. So when I went my very first time, I got my beer, I sat down. I mean, it was a liter, so that's more beer than I've ever had in one sitting, unless like my goal was to imbibe a lot and on a night out, and this was in the middle of the day, so I wasn't planning on drinking more than a liter, and so that was a lot of beer. I did not finish it, by the way. My husband had to help me finish it, and I was like looking around, and I'm realizing like no one's really like getting up and changing tables. Like they're not. Like you're visiting your friends and then you like sit down and you're at that table. Like you normally have a meal, you drink, and then you just like hang out and listen to music. That's it. That's the festival. Every festival I've been into the United States has another aspect to it. They'll either have like kids crafts. You know, they'll have a table for kids to do stuff. As many of you know, I used to work in a museum and I was in charge of kids activities. So I made sure at every festival that we had a craft for kids. You know, this is going to be kind of descriptive of what I did, but like woodworking was really popular. So I made sure like I had hammer and nails and wood and sandpaper, and they could make their object and then, you know, they could use their object. So that was like really big. Or like we made sure if they didn't want to use wood or if they were too young for wood, we had like coloring pages. We had games out. We had, you know, I mean, we had something as simple as horseshoes for kids. We had like discs for kids. We had like chalk for them to play with, you know, things to keep them entertained. Not so much in Germany. There were like no real kids activities. Now in some Christmas markets, they'll have a market area just for kids that has like rides and stuff for them, but there weren't really like crafts. And I thought that was really interesting. At least in ones I saw, I didn't see any crafts, and I thought that was absolutely fascinating because children in the United States can be a lot more coddled. Now, I don't have children, so I'm not going to go into this, but there are always activities for children, like in adult areas in the United States. And in Germany, it doesn't seem to be like that. Like in some stores, you know, they'll have like that kid playing area, or in doctor's offices, even adult doctor offices, all of the like kid playing area. Not so much here. Like when I went to the dentist here in Germany, there was no child area, and there were children that use that dentist. So that was interesting. So I thought that was one big difference from how the United States runs its festivals. Another big difference between how the States runs their festivals is that the States always sell things to you. There's always vendors there selling things other than food and drink. They'll sell homemade goods. They'll sell commercial goods. They'll be selling you insurance. They'll be selling you healthcare. Like there's always tables for you to go and get information. There'll always be nonprofits there. Every festival I've been to, and I've worked festivals, I always had a nonprofit booth. You know, I worked at a museum. The museum booth was there, and people gave away stuff. Candy, pencils, pens. What else have I gotten? USBs, like the digital travel things. I've gotten mouse pads. I've gotten bookmarks. Things I've used as bookmarks. You know, like all these things, you know, like they'll have raffles and they'll do giveaways, and that's not the way Germans work at their festivals. Like, there are no booths for information. Like, you know, if you go to a big Christmas market, you expect like the information tourist booth to be up and telling you like when everything's playing and who the next major speaker is going to be and where are all the advertisers that sponsored the event. Nope, that's not a thing. So like, they'll have Germans will have a website to get the information from, but there's not just like a booth where you can stop up and get like, I love town A t-shirt on. Like that, and every like German or every American city has that, who has a major festival. Like even when I went to Oktoberfest, now Oktoberfest had, it's made for tourists. Oktoberfest is made for tourists. So you had the booths that sold the stuff. But really what you do at Oktoberfest is you sit down at a table, bench, you drink, and you listen to music, and you hang out with your friends, and you sing along and dance. Like, you don't... At least that's the original Oktoberfest. The Oktoberfest I went to, yeah, it had rides and stuff. And it had some booths for selling things, but it's not like... It's a state... How do I describe it? It's a state fair without exhibits and vendors. That's what German festivals are. It's food and drink and hanging out with your friends. So... I'm realizing how commercial America is. The longer I'm here, the more I realize it. It's the reason why there's not as much selection in the grocery store. It's really, really interesting to me. So, there's that. So, I'm going to step back for a little bit because I'm probably going to get crucified on some of the things that I said. But no, these are my opinions. These are my perspectives. And if you have different opinions and perspectives, I would love to hear them in a respectful way down below. I will now mention just a few things that I've missed about the United States that I really enjoyed when I went back to the States. And the first thing is so small, but it's something that I miss so much, and that is free water at the tables when you sit down to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There's always going to be water served at your table if you're in a US restaurant. I didn't realize how much I miss that, or I love that. I can't tell you the amount of times here in Germany that I have felt extremely dehydrated. Especially when I'm exploring a new area. I now know I have to carry 2 liters of water with me in the morning before I leave my hotel or leave my house to get on the train and go somewhere. Because if I don't, I'm going to be extremely dehydrated by the time I get back, because I'm not getting that free water at lunch and dinner. You know, and I rely on that in the United States. Like, that's how I got the majority of my water. So now I have to make a conscious effort to bring water bottles with me, because since I'm not accustomed to drinking beer, and I don't want to drink soda because it's so sugary and I'm kind of out of it now, I have to bring the water with me. Like, there were days I came home and I was dizzy. So that's something I really miss. I really miss just having water at my table and not even thinking about it and just drinking it. I buy water now at the tables, but you know, it's very expensive to buy it from a restaurant because you're not just getting still water from like the tap, you're getting a mineral water out of a bottle. So that costs the restaurant something, and that cost is going to be passed on to you plus some. So I now just bring water with me. And when I go to a restaurant, I normally don't order anything to drink. Well, sometimes I still order like a soda or a small beer or a glass of wine or whatever, but I try not to because I don't want to pay for water. And just like I don't want to pay for the bathroom. Apparently I'm very cheap. So that's one thing I missed. Also, what I missed are stores that you can buy everything at once in. A good example in the United States is Walgreens, Target, Walmart. And I'm not even talking about the prices. I'm talking about a store you can walk into and say, you know what I need? I need butter, I need a new lipstick, and I need Advil. I need a pain medicine. All 3 of those stores that I mentioned will have all 3 of those items. Like, they'll have health and beauty, or they'll have health, they'll have beauty supplies, they'll have clothes, they'll have seasonal items. Here in Germany, it's rare to find a store that covers all of those things, that have food and healthcare and medicine. I mean, you can find it, I'm trying to think if I found it anywhere. There's certain stores that are similar to Walmart that sell like dry goods and wet goods. So they'll sell food and they'll sell clothes and some seasonal items, but they're also not going to have a pharmacy from what I've seen. And I miss that aspect because sometimes, and again, I live in a rural region, the stores, since they close early, I want to make the best of my time when I'm not at work. So sometimes I don't have time to hit 3 stores. Like I don't have time to go to Edeka and then go to Teddy and then maybe someone was out of something. So then I have, or then go to the apothecary, like, or Apotheke. Take? I'm still working on my German. Sometimes I don't have time to hit all 3 of those before they close. So then I'm kind of stuck. I have to choose which one I can do tomorrow. And you know, in the States, I was able to just go to one and be done with it. And that's something that is really interesting. And I think part of that is because of the choice. Again, the commercial aspect of America gives you plenty of choices and brands and like off-brand to do things with. And at every store, they have an off-brand. So they carry all these things. And in Germany, it's just not the same way. So that's something I missed. And I really enjoyed going to some of those stores. I didn't go to Walmart, but I went to Target and Walgreens when I went back to the States because I was like, oh, look. Did you hear that? My husband just had like an avalanche of stuff fall on him. Alright, that's where I'm going to sign off because I'm going to make sure he's okay. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you live or lived in Germany, I would love to hear your opinions on my opinions and perspectives. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, now he's opening a pop. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.